Yeah, we've got an intro now. How about that? Happy Friday, everyone. This is Offbeat, a daily look at the Pittsburgh Pirates brought to you by North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. My name is Alex Stumpf, and I would like to talk about the Pirates starting rotation. You know, not the reigning Cy Young winner, not the pitcher who has the most wins in PNC Park's history, not the pitcher who is a Rookie of the Year contender this year. No, I would like to talk about someone who is competing for the fifth starter job that I think a lot of people would prefer he stay in the bullpen, and that's Carmen Mlodzinski. To properly tell this, I think we have to go back in time a little bit, a little preamble here. Carmen Mlodzinski was drafted as a starting pitcher, spent most of his time in the minors as a starting pitcher, got called up in 2023 as a reliever, and did really well. Really solid showing, looked like someone who could contribute either as a multi-inning arm or someone who has the potential to slot into a back end of a bullpen. Same thing happens in 2024, used more in the middle relief role, but someone's like, yeah, he could be a setup man one day. 2025, Jared Jones gets hurt during spring training, and Carmen Mlodzinski was stretching out anyway to potentially start. He ends up winning the fifth starter job, and it doesn't go well. It was a rough situation for him to come in whenever he did. You know, not a ton of experience in this type of role in the upper levels. Not a lot of experience going through a lineup a couple times in the upper levels. And it really showed in the majors. He would be really solid for an inning or two, or one trip through the lineup in particular, and then the second time through, the wheels would come off. I want to look at left-handed hitters, how they performed against the righty here. Last year, whenever he was a starting pitcher, Carmen Mlodzinski, first time through the lineup, hitters hit 220, 264 OBP, 320 slugging percentage. That's pretty good at the end of the day. Now, everyone does their worst as a hitter the first time through the lineup. Like, pitchers usually do better the first time through, then the second time they tire. Hitters get to see everything they have. It usually gets worse the second and third time through the order. Mlodzinski, it got pretty horrible the second time through the order. Hitters hit 220 the first time through the order. Left-handers the second time through the order, 318. Slugging percentage for left-handers first time through the order, 320. Second time, 614. This is why Carmen Mlodzinski didn't stick as a starting pitcher and why they pulled the plug on this in mid-May. He just couldn't get hitters out the second time through, and that's really what differentiates someone from a relief pitcher and a starting pitcher. I will admit, whenever it happened, watching it live, it's like, well, he's a reliever. And there's nothing wrong with being a solid major league reliever, which is what I thought his trajectory would be. Goes down to the minor leagues, comes back up, pitches really well out of the bullpen again. It's like, well, okay, that just further establishes this guy is a relief pitcher, not a starting pitcher. It wasn't the same Carmen Mlodzinski that we saw, though. Like, whenever he went down to the minors, he said he really wanted to reevaluate what pitches he was using, what he could do differently. And his takeaway was the splitter. This is a very intriguing pitch for me, for a multitude of reasons. The big one being what we saw last year with the splitter. Whenever he was a starting pitcher facing left-handed hitters, he used the splitter about as often as his sweeper and his slider. Now, the slider was a really good pitch whenever he was in the early stages of the minors, but he was also pitching it off of a sinker. Mlodzinski uses a four-seamer a whole lot more in the major leagues. those pitches don't tunnel. So that pitch was kind of going naked, and it was going up against left-handers, and the sweeper and the slider without something to tunnel off of, that's just a breaking ball that is breaking in towards left-handed hitters. And the results speak for themselves. A 614 slugging percentage, second time through the order. I need to keep hammering that point home. I don't think it's a necessarily bad pitch. I don't think either one was a necessarily bad pitch. But without anything to tunnel, it just wasn't going to work, in my opinion. And I think the data kind of backs that up. Mlodzinski goes down to the minors. He comes back up to the majors. And second half of the season, he doesn't throw sliders or sweepers to left-handers. His mix now is four-seamer, splitter, curveball. He is working north to south. He is not trying to get beat inside against left-handed hitters. Left-handed hitters, the second half of the season, facing that new pitch mix, 164 batting average, 233 OBP, 179 slugging percentage. Now, I get that comes with an asterisk. He was used exclusively as a reliever during that. So if you want to say, well, yeah, you're just further cementing this guy should be a reliever, not a starter, okay, that can be a takeaway here. I take it the other way, that he used this new pitch mix, and his slugging percentage against left-handers, first time through the order as a reliever, second half of the season, 179. Whenever he was a starter, 320. He did significantly better with this new pitch mix than he did even in his best case scenario whenever he was starting the year. This is an intriguing pitch. It is going to dive south. It is going to make him work as a north-south pitcher against left-handers, which is what I think he needs to do. I think that's the only way he could be really effective. He could work side to side and use the east to west against right-handers, have a pitch that runs away from him. Have two. Like, that's fine. Have those waste pitches, have pitches that you can throw in, the outer part of the zone to right-handers. But if you can avoid those with the left-handers and just attack in a way that doesn't make them comfortable, I think that makes him a much more intriguing starting pitching candidate. Then I went down to Bradenton earlier this month, and he didn't have a great start. He did not have a great start whenever I saw him there, but he put it together as the outing went on, and he really leaned on the splitter. And he talked afterwards about how he noticed he didn't really have the fastball, so the splitter became his go-to pitch. And it worked, and he was throwing it to both right-handers and left-handers. He was getting good results against both batter-handedness. It was that I could look at the metrics, I could look at the data from last year, but it's the feel for me that whenever he was presented with a tough opportunity, even in a spring training game, I know it doesn't count, but I think it's telling that it's like, I don't have my stuff today. What am I going to go to? He felt confident that he could go to the splitter and that the splitter yielded good results.
This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack hydration sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious, low-sugar, brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way for you to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. The Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. My personal favorites so far have been the almond butter chip and the iced tea lemonade hydration mix. It's just really full of flavor. I love starting my day with it, and I couldn't imagine starting my day with anything else other than IQ Bar products. Right now, IQ Bar is offering our podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
This is something that I think really needs to be considered whenever we're looking at this fifth starter competition that we got in camp right now. I mean, there's Clevenger, there's Ureckity, there's Barco, there's other options. Like Mlodzinski isn't here as solely the only option to be the starting pitcher, and that's fine. He shouldn't be. There is also the theoretical chance the Pirates could sign someone. I mean, it's still not outrageously deep into camp. Okay, it's pretty deep into camp, but there's still some time that if they wanted to bring someone in and build them up, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm growing pretty doubtful of that at this point. But they don't have a left-handed starter in this rotation. You don't need one, in my opinion. Even if you have one, there are going to be plenty of series where you're just going to throw three right-handers. That's fine. But I think you always need that pitcher who could handle left-handers. And that's, why the southpaw was such a, staple in this rotation for years. The veteran southpaw, the Tyler Anderson, the Jose Quintana, the Rich Hills, the Marco Gonzalez's, like those, the Andrew Heaney's, those type of guys were always in an opening day rotation. Really don't have one right now. Maybe Hunter Barco wins the fifth starter job or gets called up at some point and becomes that guy. I think he has that potential, but they don't have that guy right now. I would like someone who can handle left-handers, and I'm not counting like Paul Skeens, who just handles everyone. I think Mlodzinski's splitter makes him someone who can handle left-handers. Someone who last year, the starting pitching experiment failed because he couldn't handle left-handers, could kind of be like a semi-left-handed specialist because of this splitter and how he uses it and how he is going to attack hitters north to south. We have to see him do it 2-3 times through a lineup. That's fine. We're not going to really know that until the actual results. And if he ends up going to the bullpen, what I'm saying I think could really apply still well. Like, I think he could still be a very solid major league reliever in all of this. But if you have a chance to have a quality starter, that's worth more than a quality reliever. Like last year, if he would have been just a starting pitcher, he probably would have thrown like 50, 60 really good innings, that first time through the lineup, and then 100 mediocre ones, the second to third. Mediocre to bad, maybe even sub-replacement level. And at that point, it's like, well, what are you doing here? You're just having 100 mediocre innings out here. Just have him be a reliever and have him throw 60 good innings. I get that argument. I don't think this time it's the same, though. I don't know if he was put exactly in a good position last year to start. I feel like there was a little bit of a doomed to fail trait with this because of the pitch mix, because of the lack of experience, because of the fact that he didn't really get a lot of leash in a lot of starts. A lot of starts, he was pulled after 18 batters. His last start in the Derek Shelton era, Shelton pulled him after 4 2/3 innings because he was about to face the lineup the third time through. Now, from a pure analytical standpoint, yeah, that might have been the right call. But from a machismo, from a do right for the player standpoint, no, you let him try to get that out and you let him try to qualify for a win. I feel like there was a little bit of a doom to fail trait with everything that he was doing as a starting pitcher last year. I don't see that this year. I see this as a more competitive ball club. I see this as a young pitcher who learned from those mistakes last year, applied himself in AAA, worked hard, got another opportunity in the majors, maybe not in the role that he wanted. I mean, everyone knows he wants to be a starting pitcher. I don't blame him at all for that. I don't fault him at all for that. You should want to be the best version of yourself. But the opportunity was in the bullpen. He was happier to be in the majors. He pitched well in that. I think Carmen Mlodzinski could be a really solid major league starter. And I don't know if I would have believed myself if I would have said that in May of 2025. I think the failures that he endured, he took good lessons from it, and he's got a really good pitch here that he's utilizing in a brand new way. I would like to see how this turns out over a course of a full season. I really like what I've seen from a lot of the guys competing for the fifth starter job, but if it was me, I think I would start the year with him in the rotation and see where he can take you. Thank you so much for listening to Offbeat. If you haven't already subscribed, you can wherever you find podcasts or here on YouTube. Thank you again for listening. This is Offbeat presented by North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. We'll see you all on Monday.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.